In today's video, I want to share with you all of the books that I've rated 5 stars. I have 8 in front of me, but these are just from my physical personal library collection. I'm pretty sure all of the other books that I've read from either Libby or from Kindle, there are some other ones that are 5 stars. So maybe I will make another video, kind of like a part 2, I guess, to talk more about my 5-star books. But here are the first 8 books that I have rated really greatly. It was an enjoyable read, and hopefully if you are on a reading slump, or if you're just trying to see if there are any other books that other people like, hopefully this will help you out. This might be a little bit, I don't know, controversial or something, but Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry was my 5-star read in June. And I honestly love this book so much. This is basically about Alice and Hayden, who are up for the same job. There's this socialite who was famous back in the day because her family was ultra rich, Margaret Ives, who have disappeared from the public eye for 20 years. And out of nowhere, she wanted to invite these 2 writers to, I guess, audition to write her memoir. So of course Alice jumped in the opportunity because she's actually been looking for her, and Hayden, I guess, was also there because he just recently wrote a very successful memoir of another like celebrity, so he's also up for a job. A lot of people said that this is kind of a different Emily Henry book and the romance is not really there, but I have to disagree. I think the romance was romancing. Even all of the story about Margaret's family were really interesting to me. It was maybe a little bit too long, but I feel like you have to know the story to be able to understand the ending of the book and all of the freaking reveals, which was like crazy reveal. I did not expect that ending. Although I have to say though, when I was reading all of the chapters about Margaret's family, I feel like I have to draw up a family tree, because although they don't have a lot of siblings, but there are still a lot of people involved. But other than that, it was still a great book. Next one that I have on my favorite is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was such a great and enjoyable read for me. The format of this book is in a format of interviews. So it has some chapters, I guess, but it was just a very easy read. It makes it seems like you're reading a very thick magazine. I feel like if you are into music, if you've been on a band before, if you play, I don't know, the piano, or even if you just sing, I think you can totally relate or see yourself in one of these characters. And also the ending was definitely not what I expected. I wanted to read the book first before I actually start the show. I feel like I know the show is gonna be a little bit different because we don't really get to read the day-to-day conversation between the characters in this book. You only basically read about what they say during the interviews. So I don't really know how the TV show is formatted, if it's like literally like interview, or if, you know, you get to see how the band personnel interact with each other. The next one that I have is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. If you have never read about this book, it's basically about Nora, who is depressed. She was just basically gave up on life. She doesn't want to move or continue on anymore, so why not, she decided to take a bunch of like sleeping pills. And I guess when she woke up, she was kind of in a limbo, I believe, and she basically came across the Midnight Library, and inside there's just a lot of books about her life, but it's not about her current life. It's about the lives that she could have had if she were to choose differently at any point in her current life. So she was given a chance to kind of like try out this other life to see if she would like any of these other lives compared to like her current life. So it was just a very interesting premise. And now that I'm thinking about this book again, I kind of forgot what the ending was. Probably have to read a little bit of the last few pages just to remind myself what the ending was. I decided to tap all of the books when I read this one. I don't know if you can tell, but there's just a bunch of stickies, also some on the top, which you can't really see because it's like yellow, so it's kind of washed out. It has a very interesting premise, and I feel like if I were given the opportunity to go to the Midnight Library and kind of like try out some of the lives that I could have had, that would be a thing I would say yes to, and I would just see like how my life would be different if I choose differently. And there's just a lot of life lessons in here that I would like to maybe come back to sometime in the future. I honestly need to see like why do I highlight some of these things, but it was just such a great book. The next book that I have is, I feel like, maybe my all-time favorite, just because the story is just really touching and I feel like it's really meaningful. And it is Frederick Backman's A Man Called Ove. Uwe, I'm not really sure how to say the main character's name, but this is about a man called Ove who is old and grumpy. Basically, in the beginning of the book, he heard all of this commotion outside of his house, and he kind of lives in like this row houses with like an HOA or something. And basically, the aisle in front of everyone's house, you're not supposed to drive a car through it. I think it's only like a pedestrian only alleyway, and I guess his new neighbor doesn't know that, and he was driving like this big U-Haul truck because they were moving across the street. He basically was forced to go outside to let them know that they're not supposed to be driving a big U-Haul truck right in the front. They're supposed to go through the back way and stuff. And that is also kind of when he started to get involved again with his neighbors and with just some of the characters around this town. And it was just such a heartfelt, touching story, and I feel like everybody needs to read this book. There are also 2 movie adaptations for this book. The first original one is the Swedish version, and we also have another one, like an English version, that Tom Hanks actually star as Ove. I think the name is Otto in the English version. I would recommend watching the Swedish one first because I think that is a better version of the book. The next book that I have is Salty, Spice, and a Little Bit Nice by Cynthia Timothy. This is a book that I came across, I think, from NetGalley. I was able to read this early before the publication date. The first thing that is interesting to me is that the author is actually Chinese Indonesian who lives in Australia. This is her debut romance novel, I think. She has written something else as like a collaborator, but this is her first like solo book that she wrote. This book is about Ellie, who is the youngest of 2. Her family is immigrants who moved from Indonesia to the United States. I think she was born in America, but her family is very controlling, especially her mom. She basically decided to move across the country to avoid her mom. Her mom has been sabotaging basically every single thing that she has done in her life. If her mom doesn't like a thing or two about what she decided to do, like she would basically sabotage Ellie's, decision. So she had enough. She moved over to, I think, somewhere in the Pacific Northwest, and that's when she actually met up with Alec, which is her brother's best friend. From then on, they got tangled together with some type of like business. He's basically trying to help her get her business like started and stuff like that, and it was just a really, really cute story. I also love her writing style. I did message Cynthia saying that I cannot wait for you to write more romance because I really enjoyed this one. And again, if you are Chinese Indonesian who maybe migrated to the US or like not live in Indonesia anymore, I think you would definitely can relate to Ellie's character. Alright, the next book that I want to recommend is Check and Mate by Ailey Hazelwood. This is my first book of hers that I read, and I don't know how and I don't know why, but about 10% of the book I definitely have the desire to get a chess set and learn how to play. I mean, I know how to play chess, but I'm not familiar with like some of the strategy that they talk about in this book. This is about Mallory, who is a chess prodigy. When she was little, she was kind of competing here and there until something happened with her dad, and that caused her not wanting to have to do with the chess rope anymore. Right after she was about to graduate high school, she got offered a fellowship, like a chess fellowship, At first, she doesn't want to take it because she doesn't want to have to do with chess anymore. She doesn't want to play, she doesn't want to compete and all of that. It was just basically her two sisters and her mom. And her mom is currently dealing with some illness, so she's the main breadwinner of the family. So of course the money sounds good. So she decided to accept the fellowship. And that is when she got tangled up with Nolan. I think right before she accepted the fellowship, she went to a fundraising event that her high school friend hosted, and it has something to do with chess. She has to kind of like play for fun, play for charity. She was, of course, said no at first, but she said yes after some convincing, and that is when she met Nolan, who's actually the current, I think, chess master. And for some reason, she actually beat him at a chess game. That is when Nolan has been adamant to like get her to play against him again, because I guess when you're a chess master and you've been playing and winning all the time, he's just curious basically why or how she beat him at that chess game. The next book is XOXO by XEO. This is my first book that I've read from her, and she's actually a local Las Vegas author. I didn't know that before I bought this book. But anyways, this is about Jenny, who is a cellist, or she wants to be a professional cellist player. One night in Koreatown at her uncle's karaoke place, she met Jae-woo, who's like a random boy who I guess bought a room in the karaoke place, and she was tasked, I guess, by her uncle to tell him to get out because his time is up. And after he left, she actually met him up again on the bus, and somehow they exited in the same exit, and then they stumble upon like this food fair or something like that in Koreatown, and they were basically hanging out. And for some reason, Jenny can totally open up with Jae-woo about things that she never really able to talk to her friends, so she kind of felt the connection with him. Fast forward to maybe like a few days or weeks after that encounter, Jenny found out that her grandma in Korea is sick and that her mom wants to fly to Korea for a few months to help take care of her. And of course, Jenny doesn't want to stay in America on her own, so she decided to kind of transfer to this music boarding school in Korea. And that is when the story gets really juicy and really exciting. The first day that she landed in Korea, she actually saw a music video, I think at a bus station or something, and she realized that Jae-woo is one of these guys. And another surprise that she got was that Jae-woo actually goes to the same school that she's going to. I guess that school is kind of famous for people who are training to become a K-pop idol, or you know, trying to audition for these K-pop bands. And she met also a few other friends that actually became like a family to her. And I guess that aspect of found family is just one of my favorites about this book. And honestly, I thought there's gonna be a lot of drama because, you know, this involved high schoolers in a boarding school with like some famous, like, you know, Korean celebrities. I thought there's gonna be a lot of drama, but there's actually not that much. Last but not least, I have You've Reached Sam by Dustin Tao. This book I've actually been avoiding for a while because I thought it was gonna be a sad book. Don't get me wrong, it is still pretty sad because the premise of this book is about Julie, who is grieving the death of her boyfriend Sam. One day, she was just basically desperate to talk to someone, and she decided to call up Sam's number, obviously thinking that no one's gonna pick up, it's just gonna go to voicemail or whatever, or it might even get disconnected already. But lo and behold, actually somebody picked up, and it was Sam, which is kind of weird because obviously he passed away and there's no possible way for him to actually be on the phone with her. I guess that is part of like the magic realism of the book, and throughout the book you kind of learn about their conversation on the phone together. It's also about Julie kind of mending the relationship that she broke after she refused to go to Sam's funeral. She refused to talk to her friends at school. She just want to basically avoid everybody and anybody. I feel like when I was reading the book, it was heavy because we are reading about Julie's, you know, grieving, and not just Julie, it was just basically his family, his sibling, his friends, and stuff like that. But toward the end of the book though, when there is a huge reveal, that is when I cried. I guess it was sad, but it was just kind of like also touching and heartwarming, and I don't know, it just hit me in the feel and I cried a little bit.